Let's take a look at your worksheet for 9.6 today. In the first set of problems, you're asked to write the equation for the transformations to our parent function 1 over x. So we're going to take this basic inverse function and we're going to either move it up, down, left, right, or we might even flip it over the x-axis. So you're going to be given the translations, you're asked to write the equations. So, if you think about it like this, okay, if your equation in the general form, we talk about it like this, the negative is the reflection. Now, as my fraction, my 1 over, when I go x minus a, okay, the a is the move right or left, and it goes the opposite of the sign. Okay? And then we have this plus b. This b is your up / down movement. So like in the first one, it says translate down 5 units and write 1 unit. So on this particular case, we're going to take y equals, we're going to have 1 over x. The translate right 1 unit, normally if we're thinking about that, we start at the origin, we're going over to the right 1. Normally we'd think right plus 1, but it does the opposite. So we go minus 1, because it takes 1 unit to get there. So now it goes down 5 units, that's going to be subtract 5. So up with your b value is positive, down is negative. Right, you can think of it as being negative, and left as being positive. So here, on B, it says reflected over the x-axis, so that tells me the negative part, so I can already go write the negative out in front. Translated left, 6 units. 6 units left means we're actually going to add 6. And that's it. So on the next one, translated up 4 units and left 2 units. So we're not doing a reflection, so no negative. Left would be plus 2, up would be plus 4. D, reflected over the x-axis, so that's going to be a negative. Translated down 3. So we're not doing anything to the x directly, but we'll have a minus 3. E says up 4 units and right 7 units. So this one doesn't have a negative, but to the right 7 units will go x minus 7 and up 4 plus 4. F says reflected over the x-axis, so we'll start with a negative. Translated right 6 units, so that's going to be x minus 6. And then down 3 units, subtract 3 at the end. G says translate down 5 units and left 1 unit. So the left 1 unit will make it plus 1, down 5 units minus 5. Last one, reflected over the x-axis, so I get that negative again. Translated down 3, so that's a minus 3 on the outside here. Left 2, plus 2 with the x. Alright, that takes care of the front page. Alright, let's take a look at the back side. Back side now is you're going to be given the parent function for each equation. Then you're going to state the equations for the vertical and horizontal asymptotes and graph the function. I find it's easiest to actually name the transformations first. Then I find graphing the function the best second, and then I'll do the vertical and horizontal asymptotes third. So, on this first one here, remember how the translations actually work here. So now, we have a plus 3 in the bottom. So that means the graph is going to move left 3 units. The minus 1 means it goes down 1 unit. There is no reflection, so I just have those two. I'm going to come back to the asymptotes here at the end. Now when we go to graph it, we start at the origin, because this is where the asymptotes are going to crisscross. But instead of being at 0, 0, I do my translation. I go left 3, whoops, I really didn't want to put a point there yet, but just showing you that I'm going left 3 and down 1 unit. So this is where the asymptotes, remember their boundary lines, crisscross. It's their intersection point. So now you'll have your graph and now we want to do the horizontal and vertical asymptote. Horizontal, the reason why I like to save that to the end is always going to be in the form x equals, okay, whoops, my apologies, not x equals, y equals. Mr. Bars, come on here. So we're talking y equals, and where does it cross the y-axis at? -1. My vertical asymptote is x equals. Where does my vertical asymptote intersect? It intersects at -3. And I'm done with number 1, or letter A. Alright, the second one, if I take a look at my translation, I have a reflection over the x-axis, and I am going down 2 units. So now when I graph this one, I start at 0, 0. I'm not going left or right, but I went down 2 units. So if I look at my asymptotes here, I can graph those. Now normally I'd be in quadrant 1 and 3, but since it's a reflection over the x-axis, it's now in quadrant 2 and 4. Draw a sketch of our graph. Our horizontal asymptote is always in the form y equals. So in this case, y equals -2. Our vertical asymptote stayed at 0, so x equals 0. Now one of the things you can actually do is, if you want to make sure your graph is right, you can actually graph these on your calculator. One of the things that I would do to check it. So, whoops, I wanted the calculator back here. Somehow I must have grabbed the wrong thing here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my window, and in fact what I can do is if I go zoom 6, which is zoom standard, it's going to give me my 10 by 10 by 10 window. It's a window I like to work with. It's basically very similar to the grid that you have here on your worksheet. So now if I go to my y equals, I can just go ahead and enter in the equation. 1 divided by, we'll put this in parentheses, x plus 3, close parentheses, and then subtract 1. If you go ahead and hit graph, what's going to be nice is you're going to see how the graph has shifted, and you can start to see here where your asymptotes are located. I don't know if you'll see that with my arrow here, but you can see that it's at -3 here and at -1. So you can see that your graph is matching up. So the calculator is a great checking tool to see if you're doing them right. Alright, continuing on, the last two on your worksheet. So on this one I want to talk about the translations. So for this one here, we're talking a -4 means we're going to go right 4 units and up 2 units. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, start here. It says right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2. So now that's where my asymptotes intersect, crisscross. So there is no reflection, so I know I'm still in the quadrant 1, quadrant 3. So my horizontal asymptote is now at y equals 2. my vertical asymptote is at x equals 4. Alright, let's take a look at our last one. This one has all three of them going on. We have a reflection over the x-axis. We are going to the right 2 units and up 3 units. So again, start with my origin. I'm going to go right 2. I'm going to go up 3. That's again where they crisscross. Now, since it's a reflection, I'm not in quadrant 1 and 3, but I'm in 2 and 4. My horizontal asymptote is at y equals 3. My vertical asymptote is at x equals 2. Alright, this ends the video for 9.6.